Me da mucho gusto ver a tanta gente aquí reunida, porque este es un evento, pues suena un poco cliché decirlo, pero es hasta cierto punto histórico, sobre todo en México, porque es la primera vez que en la Ciudad de México se presenta un evento de este tipo con una personalidad tan importante, ¿no? Pienso yo. Es un tipo fantástico. Me da muchísimo gusto que hayan estado aquí, porque John Waters no solamente es el padre del cine trash, sino que además es uno de los principales artífices de lo que después se convertiría en el cine independiente que hoy conocemos estadounidense. Entonces, todo lo que vemos ahora de low budget movies y todos estos rollos parten en cierta medida de este hombre que es un auténtico genio. Entonces, me da mucho gusto tenerlos aquí. Un agradecimiento a la Embajada de Estados Unidos en México por habernos permitido también una serie de facilidades para que John estuviera aquí, y a Homie, que también es un patrocinador importante de este evento. Entonces, sin más preámbulos, quiero presentarles a John Waters. I'm going to say this in Spanish, so. Okay. La charla va a ser en inglés, porque, bueno, evidentes razones. Y el proceso va a ser que yo voy a tratar de hablar lo menos posible para tratar de mantener la conversación, y lo que queremos es oír a John, ¿no? Entonces, después va a haber una serie de preguntas al final de la charla para que ustedes también puedan interactuar y, bueno, resuelvan algunos cuestionamientos que tengan pendientes, ¿vale? So I'm glad you're here, John.
Me too. First time I've been here. What a great audience this has been for me. Really, really been an incredible welcome.
You killed it last night at the
Thank you.
At the stand-up.
Thank you.
And I wanted to start with a very short question about. We did a retrospective a few weeks ago, since you were coming in Tonalá, and seeing your films. Normally, when you see a film that's decades old, it's like it gets old, it gets a bit soft, it gets kind of lame, or you kind of see the values we have advanced and so on. But in your films, it's totally different. I think your films are much more politically incorrect right now than were in the 70s.
Well, I'll argue that a little. I think, except for Desperate Living, which in the beginning of that movie, lesbians stopped the film from being shown and saying, how dare a man make a movie about lesbians? Now lesbian groups bring it to raise money at colleges, and now it's really politically incorrect. So I don't get either one of those things. It should have been reversed. But I think my movies are politically correct. The right people win. The people that win mind their own business. They don't judge other people, and they take what society uses against them, they exaggerate it, they turn it into a style, and they win. That is politically correct, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. And I talked about last night the extreme political correctness, you know, the insane. That's for rich people.
Yeah.
You know, in America, believe me, it's just rich kids' schools where
have
they're
time for
crazy about trigger warnings. Believe me, where I live in Baltimore, they don't give trigger warnings. They have guns, right? They have real triggers, yeah.
And I always wanted to know your fascination with this thing about psychopathic characters and borderline personalities. Do you find yourself related to these characters in a way?
No, I'm always interested in things I can't understand. And I'm interested in people. I taught in prison for a while. I still visit people in prison. And I believe in rehabilitation, but I also believe there's some people that should never get out of jail. I'm not saying that every person, believe me, I think, but I do believe everybody is born innocent. And that's why I have such a problem with the Catholic Church that teaches babies are born guilty. What a terrible thing to tell people. That's the worst concept. Now, Jews say they're the chosen people. I think that's smart. At least that's positive to tell your child. You're better than everybody, or you're worse. You know, neither is good, I think. You should maybe have a little in the middle of that.
Yes. And about your first films, if we can go back there, Pink Flamingos, I think in the...
Well, I made a lot before that one.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
In your makeup and...
Yeah. And they're not in distribution, mainly for music rights issues. That's the main thing I tell all young filmmakers. pay for your music rights because it will come back to haunt you forever. It costs about $30,000 for each song. Every time a needle drops, it costs $30,000 to have the worldwide rights to your. And so, that's really a lot of money. And young people don't think that. And then they enter their films in a film festival, and then some distributor wants it, and then they found out you didn't pay for any of those music rights, and the movie will never come out.
Yes, like Mondo Trasho, which
is
a musical.
Trasho. It's 90 minutes of music that would cost probably $750,000 to buy the rights, and the movie cost $2,500. So the economics of that situation is not looking good.
Yes. But going a little bit further, from Multiple Maniacs to Pink Flamingos, I think it's the great American movie because it deals with all traditional American values like family, war, competition, and bad taste. How do you go back to that movie now?
Well, I don't think it's my best made movie. I mean, I really didn't know what I was doing technically, but that's why it works a lot. People think it's real. People think I lived in that trailer and that Divine, killed, I don't know. They said, you still live in that trailer? I said, did you watch the end? It burned down, remember? But people really, if you like the movie, you say it looked raw. If you didn't like it, you say it looked amateur. It means the same thing, basically. But the movie almost looked like a snuff movie or something, because it was filmed, at that time there was no video or anything, so we used the 16mm cameras that they used to film the news then, and it had a magnetic stripe on it that recorded the sound right on the film 24 frames ahead of the picture. So every shot that you edited, the sound had to overlap 24 frames. Paul Morrissey used the same camera to make Trash and all those Flesh and all those movies. And so it limited you, what you could do. There was no cutting back and forth. You had to do these long takes. If you look at that movie, people have dialogue scenes for 3 minutes. If they made one mistake, we had to shoot the whole thing. So, so I look back on it and thinking, wow, I never thought, it didn't get nicer though. I mean, the people that see these movies weren't even born when I made the movie, and it still works. It still works. And Divine got weary about talking about eating shit, I mean, he just thought, oh God, do I have to talk about that? It was a stunt. It was a publicity stunt, and he did his own stunts. It was a stunt too. You need a stunt man to do that. Today, they would fake it, but that's why there's no cuts. You can see, but it was really hard. We had to follow that dog around for hours. We gave it an enema. It wouldn't do it. And finally, and Divine said, that a little one? I said, go for it. We're losing the light here.
And it's not even the scariest gimmick of the film, because you have the
I
chicken.
Think it is. The chicken. Well, I probably wouldn't do that today. However, it is politically correct, because that chicken we bought at a market that said freshly killed chicken, where they killed it in front of you and you took it home and ate it. We let it live, it got fucked, and it got to be in a movie. And then we ate it. So we made its life better.
And how about the relationship with kids? Because all your movies, or the early ones, have these weird scenes with...
Are there children in Pink Flamingos?
Yes, the one in the basement.
Little Noodles. Yeah,
exactly.
His name is Max. I see him. He's 50 years old. He lives in Provincetown. He was Cookie Muller's son.
A hardcore scene also.
No, he wasn't doing any hardcore.
Fighting. We just recently saw it in this fight with...
Yeah, but they didn't. There was no fucking or anything in front of the child. No. All the children turned out fine. I talked about that last night. All the kids are fine in my movies. The little baby that Divine gave birth to, he comes to my Christmas party every year. He's 50 years old. He's fine. You bring your kids with you, no matter what you do. Even if you're a criminal, bring them along for a bank robbery. They'll turn out okay, because you included them in your life and you made them feel safe somehow. And our kids, they did feel safe. I know that's awkward to imagine, but the kids were always included in what we did. And all the kids that I grew up with are mostly in show business today. A lot of them have very good jobs and are producers and stuff in show business from growing up on our movie sets. So I don't think any of them were traumatized by it, except the one girl I met recently, and she came up to me and said, I always hated you. I said, why? She said, because I was the little baby that Ricky Lake gives birth to in the car at the end of Crybaby, and I hold it against my parents because they didn't ask me if I wanted to be in that movie. And then she said, but after hearing you tonight, I forgive you. And I thought, oh, I brought a family back together.
The magic of cinema.
Yeah, so I guess she didn't, yes, I guess I get what she means. That seems pushing it to me, but I'm not her.
Yeah. There's a passage that I love in Shock Value where you, it's a really short passage where you narrate where you stopped by the police in a DUI. And at the end of the passage, you remember David Lockery, and you remember being busted 10 years earlier with him. And
We
he
were
had
busted.
passed. Yes.
In prison, yeah.
How was your, because I think your relationship with Divine is always like the front page of everything. But
Well,
I think
Divine
with David,
escaped. I know what you're talking about. With Mondo Trasher when we got arrested.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We were shooting a scene where Divine is in a drag in a gold lame Toreador outfit, looking like Jane Mansfield, driving a 1959 red Cadillac convertible with the top down in the winter with a nude man in the car. And we were filming it. We didn't ask permission. I didn't know you had to ask permission, but we just went to this university, started shooting it Sunday morning at like 8 a.m. The security guard called the police and said, they're making a porn movie. So the police raided the set, and we all ran in different directions, and I got arrested. Divine escaped, if you can imagine. How could you escape driving a Cadillac convertible in drag with a nude man in November in Baltimore? And they didn't catch him. But they caught us, and David and I, we were in different cells, and David passed me a little fan he had made out of a gum wrapper, and I felt so Jean Genet, you know?
But your relationship with him, I think we always see Divine and you like this power couple, so to speak.
Well,
but David Lockery and yourself, you had a...
We
he
were
was a very
friends. He
interesting
sort
actor.
of turned against me after a while. We certainly were a little bit estranged at the end because he always thought it was like Pecker, where they suddenly think I was getting rich from Pink Flamingos. Believe me, I didn't get rich from Pink Flamingos. I did get rich from the Hollywood movies that lost money. So I failed upwards. But no, we were friends. But at the end, David had a drug problem. There was issues but David was really the mentor who took me downtown with all my suburban kid friends when we wanted to be beatniks, and we met gay people, and we met the downtown bohemian scene, and hung around all together. And the police hated that in Baltimore because it was blacks, whites, rich, and poor. And they didn't get that. And black cops used to stop us in the car and say, you can't, this isn't Greenwich Village. You know, you can't do that here. So it was a very, very different time. But we were hassled by all people because they didn't like this mix. It was gay and straight together. And my friends are like that. You know, I don't like separatism. I like to hear a straight person's worst night too. You know, I want to hear everybody's life. I don't want to that's the only thing I don't get about the bear community. Do they have to hang around every person looks the same as they do? I want to hang around with a more varied, you know, all my friends don't have to have this mustache, you know.
And the probabilities, when you were filming at the start, the probabilities of being here or being in Criterion or being part of the establishment, so to speak, were close to none.
Well, I was ambitious. I wasn't an idiot savant. You know, I got Variety when I was 14. I knew the business. I wanted them to be successful. I thought up ad campaigns. I got bookings. I learned the business too, which is something that young filmmakers don't do a lot. And you have to. You might have the best movie in the world, but then what? What do you do with it? How do you not get ripped off even if it's a hit? It's a thing that you have to learn. And
but you're like a pastor of a cult with this.
Well, I always say it's Jim Jones with a happy ending, right?
You need to convince these people that this movie will succeed. This 10,000 movie will succeed.
You mean the people that were in it? It's just like today. Every kid that makes a movie with a cell phone, it was just like us. You make it with your friends. My friends were just a little more extreme. But Mink said, we just went for it. That's it. What everybody does when you're young and you do something. You don't think in 50 years is this going to be people. You just make it and you take chances and you do it. And we did hang around together, and what we thought, this is what would make us laugh. It was films made to offend hippies, even though we were sort of hippies. But we made fun of hippies too. So basically, my initial audience was hippies that made fun of hippies that became punks, criminals, gay people that thought the gay world was square. It was all outcasts of their own minority, basically. So my best audience was prisoners, basically. But then it spread, and then it spread. I always had an audience. People came to the movies right from the beginning. They did. And I knew how to advertise. I used to put posters around everywhere. We used to hand out flyers. I made Divine getting dragged as the character in Pink Flamingos, and we rode the subway giving out flyers. You'd be arrested for that today. And can you imagine in female television it says, "Who wants to die for art?" and starts firing a gun? Oh my God, if you did that in America today, you'd be killed. You know, you can't, even at the signing, what was it, today or last night, somebody was at Divine pointing a gun. I thought in America today, if you did that, you could easily be shot by security, and rightfully so. So things have changed so much. Who Wants to Die for Art really is not so funny anymore in America, yeah, because people have died for art. Yeah.
And how do you take a look at those views now? Because there was like this intense thing about violence and the art as murder and all these concepts. How do they
Well, I
evolve
get
now?
free laughs every once in a while. There's a scene in Serial Mom where she says, "I love Bill Cosby pictures." And, you know, today, that's a whole different thing. So that's my free laugh, you know. So I think people don't seem to get mad ever about those movies because they're from a different era, but I don't think they're mean-spirited. When they're talking about, you know, crime is beauty and everything, I mean, somebody shoots up eyeliner. You know, I don't think that caused, no one I know later OD'd from eyeliner, from trying it. So I think the films were always received with the right way from most audiences. I think people have been fair to me. I've been misunderstood. I mean, I'm not misunderstood. I was not some artist that nobody understood. Right from the beginning, the right people got it. You know, it was a different time. The critics hated us, but the critics were square then. So I used all the negative reviews. I built a career on bad reviews. You could not do that today because the critics are too smart to give you that. They're too hip to do that. But then they would give you reviews like, where do these people come from? Where do they go when the sun goes down? Isn't there a law or something? Yeah, that's a great ad campaign, you know? Yeah.
And when did you discover that you were already part of the system? The moment that you said, I'm in, I was an outsider.
Well, the three
now
changing lives, I think, were probably Pink Flamingos played in New York last. It had played at midnight around the country. It never got to play in New York. And finally it did at the Elgin Cinema. They gave us 1 week. They even had the title wrong on the marquee. It said Pink Flamingo. Maybe 50 people came. They said, okay, you can have 1 more week. We came back the next week and it was sold out. The word of mouth. My life changed that night. My life changed the night Hairspray won the Tony Award on Broadway as Best Musical. And my life changed when Role Models got on the New York Times bestseller list and got a great review. Those 3 things probably changed my life the most. But my career has been 50 years I've been doing this, so it was long and slow and up and down. I had failures, I had success. Nothing happened overnight, and I miraculously knew that nothing ends. So if I couldn't make a movie, write a book, I can do a spoken word show, I can just need to tell stories and to continue to do it and last and never stop touring. That's what Elton John told me. The day you stop, it's over. You have to constantly tour for the rest of your life, which is fine to me. Are you kidding? This is hardly a hard job. It's not like you asked me to change a flat.
And it went well for you. But do you think there were some mistakes that you wish you didn't make?
Mistakes I made were like, one time I tried to make the sequel to Pink Flamingos and I spent like 5 years trying to do it. If something doesn't happen right away in Hollywood, move on. It's not gonna happen. I probably, let me think, mistakes I made. Certainly, Desperate Living was too angry a movie, I think. But in hindsight, the third act of Polyester could have used a little rewriting. But you know, I can't really look back, and to me, all the movies are the same. I never wrote Pink Flamingo. I mean, Hairspray saying, "Oh, this is going to be more commercial." I thought they were all going to be hits, you know. And the last movie, A Dirty Shame, I didn't think it would get an NC-17 rating. I didn't think I would have all those hassles. But in a way, I ended my movie career right where I began, in the gutter, you know, causing trouble and making a movie about sex addicts, which was completely ridiculous. They gave it a NC-17 rating, which means no one over 17. No one under 17 should come. It was so juvenile. I think it should have been no one above 17 should have been able to come, because it was a completely ridiculous movie about sex.
And getting up a project right now, are you not trying? You're more of a literate now,
well,
writer.
the books do better than the movies would, because the independent cinema now, they want you to do it for absolutely no money. Yeah. And what am I going to go to people and say, well, you work for free? I've only made 17 movies, and you know, I own 3 homes. What am I going to say? Go on Kickstarter? You know, I'd be kind of a hypocrite. Help me.
And what do you prefer? If you could do anything?
I like them both. I like writing books, making movies. They're all the same to me. I work every day on it. It's the hard job. And to me, I like to tell stories. So to me, they're all the same. They're all the same. If I don't make another movie now, I'm fine. Even though there's still talk of making this children's movie, Fruitcake, it was going to be animation for a while. Do I think it's going to get made? I don't. But I keep going to the meetings. People keep hiring me to write scripts they don't make and pay me Hollywood money. I'm happy to play that game. Yep.
And what about the novel that you are?
The novel I'm working on, I mean, I hope it's going to come out. I hope so. I signed a deal. I'm on page 136 of the first draft. So, yes, I'm working on that every morning. I had to stop a little to come here, and I'm also going to Australia, and after that I'm going to Greece. I'm playing 2 horror conventions. I'm doing 18-city Christmas tour. I have a Christmas show. So, yeah, I'm booked. Yeah, I have a job.
And you're a very methodic man, like you get up early,
I get up Monday to Friday early. I get up at 6 o'clock every day, and I write every day. My job is to think up fucked up things in the morning, and in the afternoon I sell them. That's my job. Yeah. That's a good business plan, isn't it?
Yeah, it worked out.
Yeah,
really
it worked
nice.
all right, yeah. I never had to get a real job yet. But my hours are longer than a real job, I think.
Yeah, but you like what you do.
Yeah, sure. And people say, how do you have I don't know, the discipline? I say, easy. I can go to work in my underpants in the next room. You know, I don't have to get on a bus and go to somebody and do what they tell me to do. And I'm not against that either. People, that way, when you're off work, you're really off work. You're not worrying about everything else.
But it hasn't always been like that. This is a new.
I never had a real job. I worked in bookshops. What else did I do? Once I had a job taking surveys, but no one would let me in the house because of how I looked, so I just made them all up. So it was my first exercise in writing.
But your writing process before was like this, or?
Yes, it was always like that.
It was always like this?
I always wrote in the morning, yeah.
Okay.
I used to smoke pot when I wrote. I don't do that anymore. No.
Okay.
Only because it just makes me worry about things. Too strong now. Yeah.
If you could, what is your take on your first creative idea? Do you consider yourself more as a writer or as a filmmaker in terms of?
I think I'm a writer. I think I'm a better writer than a filmmaker. I think I've written everything. I've written every one of my movies. I've never made a movie I didn't write. My agents always try to get me to look at script. I would never make a movie I didn't write. I wrote all my spoken word shows. I write my books. I write even the art pieces I do. I think them up before. So I'm basically everything I do, I write. So I would think that is probably what I do. I've been a journalist. So yeah, I think I do that in every project I do. I am the writer of.
Okay.